Hallo Leute, ich bin Anwar, das ist mein Kaninchen Cotton und er sieht Deutsch für euch.
Hi there! This is just a part of a series that I'm doing on prefixes. To fully understand what's going on here, I recommend you watch the introduction on prefixes I did a while back, in which I explained when prefixes get separated from the base verb and when they don't, plus the little how-to I did on this whole series as to how to use these videos and what exactly I'm even trying to do with them. As a short reminder, you can find a list of the verbs that I will be combining with the individual prefixes in the description of all of these videos. Also, be aware that in the video I will not be combining every prefix with every one of those verbs, just in the interest of time. For more information on how to get the full list, though, stay tuned until the end of the video. And that's it for the intro. Have fun with today's prefixes. Her. Her expresses a movement towards the speaker of some sort. So this is not one of the ultra-limited ones like heim, but it's still pretty clear in what, meaning it is restricted to. It's also one of two prefixes that a lot of German learners have trouble with, that being her and hidden, because they seem to be kind of synonymous, but then again also kind of antonyms. So as for her, since it is mostly used for expressing something moving towards the speaker, it's used a lot for demands or requests of giving something or approaching or whatever the speaker, and therefore some of the verbs that are more specific in that regard can be kind of tricky to translate, but I'll do my best. Irgendwo her sein, to be from somewhere. So, wo bist du her means where are you from. Irgendwo her sein. Etwas irgendwo her haben, to have something from somewhere. So, wo hast du das her means where did you get that from. Etwas hergeben, to give something away, and again with the perspective of her, it means to give it to somebody, and is often used as some sort of demand when the speaker is asking somebody to give something to them. Gib das her, give that to me. Hergehen or einhergehen means to develop in a certain way, to kind of, this is how this went down, this is how this einherging. Spawning the noun der Hergang, meaning the course of events. Herkommen, to come hither. Again, a very speaker-centric word. So come here means come here. It's even in the relation of the words. Für etwas herhalten, to have to stand in for something. So, for example, if you're a scapegoat for something, then you would have to herhalten as the scapegoat. When referring to things, it can also mean that it has to serve as. My shirt is going to have to serve as my umbrella. Mein Hemd muss als mein Regenschirm herhalten. Herhören, to listen, specifically into the direction of the speaker again. So, hör her means listen up, listen to me, listen here. Etwas herzeigen, to show something, again, to the speaker. Etwas herzeigen. Zeig her, show that to me. Etwas herbringen, to bring something closer to somebody or to bring something to somebody specifically. Yet again, another one that gets used for demands a lot. Bring das her, bring it here. And then before we get to the next one, herfallen does not exist. Hinfallen exists, which means to just, fall down, fall on your face, whatever. Herfallen does not exist. Why? Her, as I said, means towards the speaker or towards the person from whose perspective we're seeing an action developing, which in this instance would be the thing that somebody is falling onto, usually the ground. And since we don't perceive the ground as having a perspective, we can't really say herfallen, because we can't take on the perspective of the person, the thing, the ground that the person is falling towards. That's why the word herfallen does not exist. At least not when you actually mean falling. The word herfallen does exist in one very specific context, and that is attacking somebody very viciously, attacking them in a way that does not leave them any way to escape or fight back or whatever. So, and it's often used in a sexual assault context. Über jemanden herfallen, to viciously and usually very quickly attack somebody. The next one is heraus, combining one of the two pairs that are ambiguous and kind of confusing, herein, with the other pair that is kind of confusing and ambiguous, that being raus and rein, so out and in. So from that you can already see heraus means out, as in the out movement, not outside the place. Now, going outside can either be hinaus or heraus. Now, as I just explained, her means a movement towards. So heraus means a movement that is both going out of something and towards something, somebody, that being the speaker or the perspective that we're currently taking on. Easiest example is you're in the garden, somebody's in the house, and they are coming outside. So, because they are both making a movement that puts them outside of something, and also making a movement that puts them closer to you, so basically them coming from a sphere that is not yours into one that is yours, or a realm, or whatever you want to call it, that's why we use here. So here is the indicator for I'm already here, somebody's joining me, and raus is the indicator for they were previously inside something that they are now coming out of. Now with that knowledge, let's combine it. Etwas heraus haben. To have gotten the hang of something. Das habe ich jetzt raus. I really got the hang of this. Etwas herausgeben either means to give something away, mostly involuntarily, that you were holding. So a very common example for this is die Geiseln herausgeben, which means to free the hostages, to give up the hostages. So it's give something away in the sense of give something up. It can also mean to publish something, though. For example, der Verlag gibt eine Zeitschrift heraus means the publisher publishes a magazine. Jemanden oder etwas herauslassen, to let somebody or something out. This can be both in a literal sense, so I don't know, letting your dog outside, but it could also be letting out a feeling. So you might encounter the phrase lass es raus, let it out. So yeah, I don't know, if somebody's really sad and they're starting to cry, you might say lass es raus. Herauskommen, either to come out of something, or same as with herausgeben, this is kind of the active counterpart to herausgeben. So I could, instead of saying der Verlag gibt eine Zeitschrift heraus, the publisher is publishing a magazine, I could say diese Zeitschrift kommt im April heraus. This magazine will be published in April, although while in English that is a passive sentence, in German it's active. So literally that would be this magazine appears in April. Herausfinden. To find out. You can't find somebody out, so you can't say jemanden herausfinden, but other than that, it's very literally to find out. Ich habe etwas herausgefunden. I found something out. I found something out. Etwas heraushören. To be able to hear something out of something else. So for example, you might be listening to a concert of some sort and there's multiple singers, but you can pinpoint one or distinguish one certain voice in there, then you would be heraushören that one voice. Etwas aus etwas herausnehmen. To take something out of something. Also, sich etwas herausnehmen, in which case, again, etwas can be and often is just the word etwas, so it's not substituted for anything, it's just the word etwas. Sich etwas herausnehmen means to have the audacity to do something. So, ich habe mir herausgenommen, etwas vom Buffet zu nehmen. I allowed myself to take something from the buffet, implying that that was not something you were supposed to do yet. Can also very nicely be used sarcastically or passive-aggressively. So when you're trying to say that, you did something that you consider quite, that's evident that you would do that, but you say it as if it was something horrible that you did, because you assume that the other person might assume that it's horrible. Ich habe mir herausgenommen, früher nach Hause zu gehen. I took the liberty of going home earlier. Aus etwas herausfallen. to fall out of something. Also mentionable that heraus, especially in spoken language, is very often shortened to just raus, because, as I said, the here really is mostly important for pointing out that the perspective you're seeing this from is the person outside or somebody outside. And if you're going for emphasizing that, you will definitely use the here. But if that's not important, if your focus is mainly on the fact that somebody's going out of something, you will just say raus and not focus on outside, inside. And the last very short one with here, that being herauf, which means up something. And again, with the here combined with the here, the person from whose perspective we're seeing this is already up on something. So perfect, easy example, you're standing on the roof and somebody's coming up the ladder to join you, then you would say, kommt herauf. He's coming up or upstairs. Jemandem etwas heraufgeben or raufgeben. To hand something up to somebody. So again, the example with the roof, if you were climbing up the ladder, or rather if you were on the roof and somebody climbed up the ladder and gave you something, so up to you, they would be heraufgeben you something. Now the thing you have to watch out for is that when you shorten herauf, you can't say auf, because auf is another prefix that I've already discussed, and it means something slightly different, although it is also connected to up sometimes. So when you want to shorten down herauf, or hinauf, you would have to say rauf. So instead of saying herauf kommen, you could also say rauf kommen. So the R is important. Herauf gehen, not really used. Rauf gehen is usually the more common term, means to go upstairs. Rauf gehen. And also herauf kommen, to come upstairs. Here, the here again is more common because come already, the word itself, means to come where somebody already is. So there you will more often hear the prefix here. But you can also say raufkommen. Herauf sehen, to look up. To look upstairs, to look up something. Yeah, not synonymous with the metaphorical meaning of aufsehen. So not synonymous with zu jemandem aufsehen. And lastly, already raufbringen, to bring something up or upstairs. Again, you can also say heraufbringen, but you will more commonly encounter raufbringen. And apart from the fact that you can also combine rauf with the modal verbs in the sense of rauf können, rauf wollen, which then means to want to go upstairs, to be able to go upstairs, to be allowed to go upstairs, etc. That's it. It's a very limited prefix. And with that, we'll leave it for this episode. No, actually we won't, because for some reason I forgot the last one in this row, that being herein, and I didn't just want to leave it out in the rain all by itself without all of its hair friends. So we're just doing that only in audio. Sorry about that. I don't know, glanced over it. So herein is basically the half antonym to heraus, in the sense that even though, yes, they both use here, herein means inside, that being again the movement inside, not the place inside. So while heraus means somebody coming out of something from the perspective of the speaker who's already outside, herein is somebody coming into something with, again, the perspective of the person who's already inside. So again, we have the movement towards the perspective that we're seeing things from, but this time this perspective is already inside of something. So if we're taking the house garden example again, that will mean that the speaker or perspective is already inside the house, and the person we're talking about was just in the garden and is now entering the house. So then I would say sie kommt herein or sie kommt rein, she's coming inside. Now what I just did there already is a very important part of this prefix. Just like with heraus, can get shortened to raus. Herein often gets shortened to rein, and that's actually very common. And some of the words that I will present in just a second actually only get used with rein instead of herein. And now for the actual words, there aren't that many. The first one is hereingeben, or rather reingeben, which would be to give something to somebody who is inside. Again, I'm in the garden, somebody's in the house, and they might say, "Gib mir bitte den Stuhl rein." Please give me the chair inside, meaning put the chair inside the house while giving it to me. Next one is hereingehen, in etwas hereingehen, or again, more commonly, in etwas reingehen, to go into something. Then jemanden oder etwas in etwas hereinlassen oder in etwas reinlassen means to let somebody or something into something. Next one, hereinkommen, in etwas hereinkommen, or just reinkommen, to come inside. And just to reiterate at this point, this inside is just a directional inside. So you can't say, I don't know, if you want to take the phrase, it's coming from inside the house, you could not use rein for that. You would have to use drinnen for that, which is not a prefix, but just telling you here, because if you think that far, you might be curious about that. So if you're referring to a place inside, that's drinnen, not rein. Rein is only directional. Then we have reinsehen, which is to look into something. Ich sehe durch das Fenster in den Raum rein. I'm looking into the room through the window. Dann etwas hereinbringen, etwas reinbringen, to bring something inside. And then lastly, in etwas hereinfallen means to fall into something. And then with hereinfallen, we actually have a special phrase, that being auf etwas hereinfallen, which means to fall for something. Ich bin auf den Trick hereingefallen. I fell for this trick. Yeah, and then again, we of course have the possible combinations with the modal verbs, which then mean rein können, to be able to go inside, rein sollen, to be supposed to go inside, rein wollen, to want to go inside, etc. So, same as always. And with that, this was actually the last part, and we're finally getting off this audio section, and I'm gonna now leave you to the clip leading you out of the episode. Sorry again about the slip up. Also, short mentioning, my exam week is coming up, so that means this will be the only episode for this week, and I might not do one next week. You might instead get a blooper reel. We'll see. Either way, I'll be back definitely the week after that, and I might actually be able to pull one off next week regardless. We'll see. Now, finally, if you want to see the list of all verbs that I combined with all of these prefixes for each of the prefixes individually, make sure you support me on Patreon, which is always linked in the description as well as on the screen right now. And after a full month of support, I will add you to a Dropbox folder that contains these lists, as well as all scripts for all grammar episodes that I've ever done. Now, last week I remember one of my longtime subscribers being really sad about not getting a random word of the week, and we can't have that. So, your random word of the week is das Waschmittel. Without product placement. Das Waschmittel. Literally, the washing means. Another one of our very pragmatic German words. Bis nächste Woche. Tschüss!